Hello and welcome to Watch What Crappens, a podcast about all that crap on Bravo that we just love to talk about. This is part 2 of the recap. If you missed part 1, go check out your podcast feed. It's right there. And without further ado, let's get right back into the recap.
So then Bronwin's like, has anyone asked me a fucking question about myself? Oh my God. What questions have you asked anybody? What are you talking about? Where are all these moments where you've reached out to the other ladies to see how they're feeling about anything going on in their lives? There are none of those moments. There are none. Spoiler alert.
I'm doing the slow Bronwin nod, which is her way of saying, I'm hearing this and I'm very Rachel.
By the way, we just saw a flashback of Lisa being the one who was the only one that we've seen that was like, Bronwin, how was your dog attack? Like, what was that? What happened? Were you screaming? Were you trying to, like, what happened with that? Lisa was literally just asking you about yourself in a clip. But okay.
Bronwin's like, from day one, I've been called two-faced, terrifying, not a girl's girl, a trophy wife, a Werther's original stealer. That was actually Todd who said that. A gold digger. This is bullshit. Okay, the amount of shit that's been said about me before anybody has bothered to get to know me is insane. It's so insane. I'm going to pulse my right eyeball at you. And Angie's like, Bronwin, you are finally showing something. And Heather's like, we didn't even know that any of that bothered you. We thought if we called you a fucking bitch, gold digger, two-faced slut, we thought you'd be down.
She's like, it was nothing about being a gold digger. I mean, if you just bothered to get to know me. And Brittany's like, and by the way, Bronwin started a fight with Heather within 2 seconds. How would she try and get to know you? You immediately went and tattletaled on her and tried to get her in trouble. So then Brittany's like, well, I don't want to come for you. And Angie goes, shh, just hold on. She's like, hold on, little one. I loved when she did that. She was like, just,
I know.
She's like, this is Bronwin's monologue. Okay. This is her getting the rose moment. Just let her have it, you know?
I know. Bronwin has stolen Brittany's moment. Bronwin's like, it would have been about the shit that's really important to me. If anybody had asked me, it's actually about the real shit that I've gone through with Todd. How hard it is to be a stepmom. How hard it is for me to navigate being with someone who is older and successful and cranky and still uses a Palm Pilot. Have you ever tried to text someone with a Palm Pilot? It's awful. And the infidelity too. That's probably number 3 on the list there. I mean, we had infidelity in our situation.
So, wow. And she very clearly says, and the infidelity we have in our situation. And when he goes, and everyone just goes, oh, and there's a big long moment. And then Lisa like moves chairs and sits on an ottoman and then double crosses her legs and then like acts, she like flicks her hair like, here we go. Here, this is me, Lisa listening. Go, you're welcome.
Call me Dr. Lowenstein. I'm listening. So Whitney's
Call her Henry. Like her Call Her Daddy
Speaking
podcast.
of pressure.
Call her Henry. This is my investigative journalism.
Speaking of pressure, how did you find out about the infidelity? So Bronwin's like, she's like,
when were you infidelity? I thought it was only a website.
Did it happen at Aqua Aerobics? It's good for the joints.
So Bronwin says a couple of years ago, they were on a trip and he was texting someone on his iPad. And then Gwen went to say something to him and she saw it over his shoulder. What does she see over his shoulder? Was it a nut pic? Because, I want to see a pic. If there was like some balls hanging, being dragged, behind his ankles or something, I want to see it. I want to see some old man nut pics given to me.
I don't know if I want to see Todd's nuts.
I'm just curious, like, how low can they go? Come on. I want to see.
Real low. So Gwen that's terrible that Gwen had to be the one to catch him. Like, that's awful. And
It
also,
really is,
if you're on a trip, you're on a family trip and you're going to be texting with your mistress on a trip of all places when you're like, when you got Bronwin and Gwen in close proximity, like, not only is it shitty that you're a cheater, but you're also a bad cheater. So Whitney's like, oh no. And Meredith goes, ah. And Bronwin's like, yeah, so Gwen came to me and I confronted Todd. And she says, I thought this was funny. This is a serious moment, but I thought the implication here was funny. She's like, the truth is, my relationship is just as hard as everybody else's in its own ways and has its very own, very, very low lows that were very hard for me. And this is the side of the girls. This is the side the girls have yet to see. But I want them to understand that I bleed the same way as they do. I cry the same way. It's like, I may be very rich and I may be much smarter than them, but I too bleed.
Yeah.
Like, the implication is, I know I'm much better than these people, but in some ways I'm just like them. Celebrities, they're just like us.
I'm just like them, just in much more expensive clothing, you know? Now, do I cry? Yes. Is it into canvas bags? No. So Whitney's like, but what did he say to you when you confronted him about it? And she's like, well, he said it's a fatal flaw of his. And what's good for him in business is that he's never satisfied and he's always pushing for the next deal, the best deal, whatever. And Brittany's like, oh, ding, 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 ding. Everyone, I'd like to announce that was ouch. Ouch. Am I right? Cheers to Bronwin. That hurt. That hurt even me.
Guys, I just want to announce that Jared has also cheated on me. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
I found out in the Costco 5 minutes after he committed to me. It was with the lady serving the chicken nugget samples.
They were serving, the lady gave him an alouette sample, and she looked over his shoulder and saw that he was actually just making out with the lady giving out the silk chocolate milk samples. It was a very blatant cheating. By the way, this
we're monsters, by the way, us laughing. And I'll tell you why I'm so openly laughing in just a second. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, let's not let Todd off the hook with this bullshit excuse.
Todd is not off
this,
the hook. No,
this
we're laughing because we're idiots.
No, we're laughing. I'm just saying, like, because we're laughing and like we run the risk of just moving on. But like, we need to dwell for one moment on this bullshit of, oh, well, in business, I'm always looking for the next deal. So, I just naturally am always looking for the next thing. That is the biggest line of bullshit that in no way explains why you cheat. And you do not get to let yourself off the hook by saying your business instincts are so good that it carries over into your erections. No, that's just not a thing. And if it is a thing, you're basically saying you're treating Bronwin like a business transaction. So all of it is wrong in so many different ways.
Well, it's also wrong in that if he's going to compare it to his business, Palm Pilot was the one that was replaced by something better. Palm Pilot did not come along and decide to replace somebody. It was the one that was replaced. So if he's going to compare that to his business, he's not even getting that right.
He's not. He seems to be he's doing a better job at looking forward with his boners than he is with his business. But that's a terrible, terrible excuse. And the fact that like Bronwin is like, well, with Todd, he's just always looking for the next thing. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And you know what? On this show, we're always making jokes and laughing about serious stuff. But this is just such bullshit. And I'm so sick of fucking hearing this kind of thing from men. And I'm also sick of just people taking it. You know what I mean? Like, it grosses me out and I don't like it and nobody deserves this. And Bronwin definitely does not deserve this. And so Heather's like, well, did you say fuck you? It's not hard to turn it off when you come home. It's called marriage, and fucking turn it off. You lose your wife. And Lisa goes, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. And so Ron was like, well, it's not his fault. You're used to what you used to. You like what you like. I mean, everybody has their thing. And Lisa's like, wow.
It's literally 100% his fault. I just want to point out it's 100% his fault.
Yeah. So Lisa's like, this is shocking to me. Like, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I mean, well, my doors I do because there's cameras everywhere. Basically it's Henry spraying cologne on his armpits and then smelling it and then falling over fainting. And then I send him notes saying, stop putting so much cologne up your nose. You're going to die. He doesn't listen. He's really addicted to that stuff. What were we talking about?
This is like shocking to me. Like, I don't even know what goes on behind closed doors, but I've known Bronwin for years, and all I've seen from her is like how perfect her life is. I mean, she just lives a charmed life. Dog shit everywhere, grumpy husband. It's like exactly what you would want. And she talks about how much she loves Todd and how good he is to her. So for me, I'm just like processing everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like kind of hard to believe.
And it sounds like she's going, oh my God, I just can't believe it. But I think she's literally saying, I don't believe it. So then Heather's like, but did he deny it? And she's like, well, he came back with a ring that had 5 diamonds and he made 5 new promises to match each of the diamonds. And so they asked what the promises were. And she's like, well, it was 5 things he didn't promise me when we got married that he probably should have, because Todd works 3,000 miles away from me 5 days a week. So, so there's always going to be a lump in the back of my throat. And if I'm not super supportive, if I'm not super there, if I'm not super caring, he's going to cheat. And if I'm not enough at home, he'll get it. So I'm not enough at home and I'm not enough with you guys either. Oh my God. First of all, this is so fucking sad. But you are starting every fight on this show. Nobody has started a fight with you. You've literally antagonized every single person on this show. And then even after they apologize to you, you antagonize everybody else. And then you start crying like you're the fucking victim. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, so that's first. Now, back to the other thing. Nobody deserves this. But
well, I think there's a correlation.
How the ladies are treating her is not really fair, even though I get she's projecting pain from one thing onto another thing. I feel like
that's the correlation is like you're powerless and you have no voice in one very important part of your life. So now that's why she's like, I think a little extra, because she's kind of like vomiting out her voice, right? Like she can't really say how she feels with Todd because she's afraid that she might cause him to cheat again, which is like, that should not be her responsibility for him to act like a grown up. And yet, so then when she's around people, like everything that she's supposed to keep on the inside in one arena, she just spews out in another arena, because this is this place where she can be like, right. And
I know
get it.
I know it's an awkward thing for me to be like, but you doing what you do to ladies and then using that. I know that bringing that up right now the reason I did that is because of this next thing that happens. So Meredith is basically, because she's like, I love Todd. Oh, no. First, what happens? Heather's like, I'm sorry. And Meredith says, do you think that maybe that he can't be that invested because you're guarded against him? And Lisa goes, that's a great question. And she's like, no. And then it turns into this whole other thing of the ladies sticking up for Todd. So I get that it looks like that. And I think maybe they are, because they're both in situations, as Whitney points out, Whitney's half-baked, but at least Meredith is in that situation where she's possibly been cheated on before, right? So maybe she's found some way to justify. And, maybe there is something with a lot of people who do kind of justify the other things. But that's why I pointed out the other thing is I'm saying, is it possible that you're setting, like in this group with the friends, I feel like she is starting all of these fights and then making herself a victim. Like she's purposely pushing people, almost like she's purposely putting up a wall and daring them to like still be her friend, if that makes any sense, even though she's being a total asshole. So I'm saying, is that what they're trying to say? Like, is that what you're doing to him too? Like, are you in your marriage the same way as you are in this friend group in other ways? Well, I don't really know. I don't have a clear thought on it, but I don't know. I think they take a lot of shit for what they say here, and I don't think it was that bad what they said, basically.
Yeah, ultimately, Whitney has a pretty good point here, because Whitney says, it's so cringy to me that Lisa and Meredith are choosing to like have Todd's side. Like in this moment, we just need to say, fuck Todd. Like that's it. And I think that Whitney's actually correct. It should be just fuck Todd. I think that what Meredith is actually saying though, and is like, in these situations, I think that there's like a negative feedback loop that happens, which is that Bronwin starts acting a little unnatural because of the dynamic, because of Todd. And then she's acting unnatural, which is then he is going to react to that. There's like that self-fulfilling prophecy. And so then he's probably like, that's going to create like it's not all on her. I'm just saying that like both of their behaviors contribute to a negative feedback loop where they're going to kind of drift and have weird communication. It's not Bronwyn's fault, but like the point is like the cycle of that communication needs to be disrupted. But nevertheless, regardless, in this moment, in this conversation, the conversation should have just been like, fuck Todd.
I think that's true. And then even us like talking about it right now, we're talking about it this way because we've thought about it overnight, so like we've had time to think of like all these other things. But yeah, I think you're right. In the moment, your response to your friend is just like, fuck that guy, and to listen.
Yeah.
Now, something else about this, and because this scene goes on for a long time, but just something else to note is that after the show, in the after show, or was it the after show or Watch What Happens Live? Because she was on Watch What Happens. No, it was Watch What Happens Live. So she went on Watch What Happens, and Todd was in the audience. He was sitting there, and Andy asked about, how Todd feels about his shit being exposed on the show like that. And she's like, well, first of all, I just want to make it very clear that Todd did not cheat on me. And he did not cheat. That was just some communication. Emotional. So she took it back. And so some people, so it's kind of a split, right? Because some people are like, oh, she's just doing that because she's terrified of Todd. And Todd made it clear to her that if she embarrassed him again, that he would divorce her. And, now she's terrified. And so she's just doing what he wants. And then other people are like, no, she clearly lied, which is what she continues to do on the show, which is accusing people of shit that they never did and that she's so hurt by, exaggerating things or making claims that people did, which she does do on the show all the time. And so she's an interesting case because, like, is that happening? Because we've also seen that Todd's a controlling asshole. I hate how Todd, no matter what I think of her, I hate seeing how Todd treats her. And that guy's a piece of crap on this show. So I really don't know. But it's interesting that she, right after this episode, she was sure to go on and say, no, he never cheated, when she very clearly said there was infidelity. So I guess maybe she was inferring to a different kind of cheating, which would be emotional or whatever. But she clearly on the show tried to make it look like he cheated on her. So I don't know. She's a confusing one. She's a tough one.
Well, I mean, and she's excellent on this show.
It is. For to get us to really shut the fuck up and have a serious conversation for this many minutes in a row. It's just pretty. But impressive.
Also, like, she has substance as a housewife. She's great as like on like the funny levels in terms of clapbacks and whatever. But like, there's stuff there with her that's interesting, and you want to get to know more about her. So Bronwin says, like, I adore Todd. I live and breathe by what Todd says to me. And by the way, I just want to also point out, this entire serious conversation is happening during like massive swells. Did you notice the boat was going up and then down and then up and then down? I was surprised they weren't all barfing. I kept on seeing the horizon rising up and down on my screen. So she's saying, and I think I mean as much to Todd as any person can mean to him, but I think Todd means more to me than I mean to him. And Lisa's like, oh, sorry, what were you saying? I got distracted. I was ordering a Diet Coke.
So they're like, wow, that's really sad. And she's like, yeah, but I really understand Todd. And I feel like in this group, in my relationship with Todd and most of my friendships, she's basically saying nobody knows her and who she is. And it's just such a weird, isolating feeling and feel like nobody gets her. And she's like, I don't have a good relationship with my mom. I don't have my dad. I'm losing him. And Gwen's going to college. And she's lonely, basically. And she's like, so then she thought Lisa was introducing her to friends. And then it's been tricky with some of them. Boom. And then that reinforces this narrative. Yeah. And it reinforces this narrative that maybe I'm not good enough for anyone.
Oh, there it is. So good. That's the house. She's like, the heartstring is there. It's like, Bronwin, you just have to pull the heartstring. Like, this is a good story. This is a very, very sad story. But there's one last thing for you to do. You've got to reach out and you got to grab that heartstring and you got to pull it. I'm not good enough for anyone. It's like, yes, Bronwin, you did it. I love it. Made me feel very sad for her. Sad that she feels this way. And Heather's like, you keep saying negative.
So cynical. I get it, but I'm sorry. My only feeling is like, yeah, but stop fucking with everybody. Because you've been the ass. Like, I'm sorry, but you've been the asshole. And this is, to me, I find all of that would be very compelling if it wasn't just about her starting fights with everybody. Because to me, it's like, you got in trouble, now you don't have any friends, and now you're going to cry and make everybody else. Just say you're sorry to people for starting shit.
I mean, an argument could be made
and then
that
talk
Heather
about
was
your
the
story when
first.
You're being close.
An argument could be made that Heather was the asshole. Heather came for Bronwin first, and then Bronwin went on defensive, and then she got mad at Lisa because Lisa didn't defend her, and then she kind of just spiraled out from But an argument could be made.
Well, Bronwin did start by talking shit about Whitney first, because she did say in that car she was mocking Whitney in front of Heather and Lisa for the way that Whitney was crying. And she's like, oh my God, girl, like, what are you going for an Oscar award or whatever she was saying? So Heather did come for her, but she was the first one talking behind people's backs. And Heather was just calling her out. And then she showed up every other time calling every other person out to be like, see, you guys like people calling people out? Well, watch me call everybody out. But she was guilty of the thing that she was originally charged of, which was talking shit behind someone's back. Even though she went to Whitney and repeated the stuff to Whitney to her face, she still said it in like it was much less of a mockery than it actually was. So to me, no, Bronwin started all of it.
I think that Bronwin, but I don't think, Bronwin may have talked, again, I just don't think the talking shit is really, it was I feel like in line. It's like when you're on a highway and everyone's going 70 miles per hour and the speed limit is 55. You're all kind of breaking the rules, but you're doing it as a pack. So it's all, you're going with the traffic. And I think that's sort of what she was doing. And I think that thought she was kind of fitting in, because she was like, oh, I'm on the show, gonna mix it up, just like be kind of shady. And Heather's like, I can't believe she was shady. I think Bronwyn's a terrible person. And then she started this campaign against Bronwyn. And then Bronwyn at that point then went on her path of glory.
And I was on Bronwyn's side when that was all happening on the show. I was totally, I mean, Heather was acting like an idiot. I mean, I was totally team Bronwyn on that. I'm just saying, technically, she did start it.
Technically, she's no angel.
In such a big way that, like, yeah, she is trying to fit in, she's trying to fight and everything like that, but she's not fitting in with the part of like forgiving and moving on. She's just constantly starting something and constantly being offended. And then now that it's all catching up with her, it's like this biggest tier thing. Like, it's just because I don't fit in. Because who besides really a horrible person like me is gonna like hear that and be like, yeah, but also just stop being an asshole. It's like all of that, like all of the stuff you're saying about not fitting in and all the stuff about Todd, I think is super valid, and all of her feelings are super valid. But to bring it into this situation where you're constantly antagonizing everybody, I guess it's explaining kind of why she's doing what she's doing, but it's also putting the impetus on everybody else, like not making her feel good and not just her starting shit constantly. But I don't know.
Well, this explains why she had such a negative.
Because also
this is why she had a negative reaction to when Heather was coming at Bronwyn earlier in the season. The reason why she had actually such a reaction to it is because she carries this baggage of feeling like people don't understand her and that she doesn't fit in. And here she was, having her sort of first scene, and she thinks she's having new friends. She's gonna like mix it up like everyone else, be a little shady. And then Heather immediately is like, no, I'm the queen bee of the group, and I'm saying, no, you don't get to be here. And it like triggers all these feelings of like, I don't fit in anywhere. I'm always the outside. I was the outsider Brigham Young. I was the outsider in my family, outsider in my marriage. Like, no one gets me. And once again, I fucked it up. And now it's like, then I think she just goes in warpath mode at that point. Like, it's like she becomes Carrie. And she's been that mode ever since. And by the way, thank God, because it's been so fun for me, at least.
So I guess basically what you're saying is,
by the way, both things could be correct.
I guess what you're saying that I'm vibing with is that it's not necessarily an excuse, because I think I'm taking it more as an excuse, and I like what you're like the way that you're phrasing it, which is like she's explaining it as a reason and not necessarily using it as an excuse. She's kind of explaining what's going on and not trying to excuse it, which I'm down with. It could be both, actually, and I think
it actually could be both. I think it is.
I like
both
yours
an
better. I
excuse
think
and a
yours.
reason.
I have to say, I think yours is like more accurate, but it's also more compassionate. So I'm going to go on that team now.
No, don't be more compassionate. I think it can be both things. She has been an asshole to people. Like, she turned on Whitney and Angie, who were like her friends all this season. She turned on them purely to show. It was really it was a gesture solely to show Lisa Barlow that she's willing to have Lisa Barlow's back at camp day, right? And so she threw those friendships under the bus. That's an asshole move. So she does do asshole things, which contributes to her being not accepted in the group. And however, that's also her damage, is that she feels that way. So she may, and there's an interesting parallel here with Todd and here, which is that, and it's just it's a commentary in general to like how often we contribute to situations that we're unhappy to. And that's why there is a thing called self-fulfilling prophecy. And again, I'm not saying this in a way that like, well, Todd cheated because of Bronwyn. No, Todd cheated because of Todd, and
Todd's a piece
Bronwyn
of shit
didn't
because
deserve
of Todd.
that. Yeah, but the thing is that we all, every situation that we find ourselves in, we are going to have a reaction to. And a lot of times our reactions sometimes are counterproductive to the outcomes that we want, which is unfortunate, but that's also kind of like a
who you
human
talking to, girl?
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
it's like me
very
eating
reactive like that.
Jenny's ice cream last night while simultaneously saying how I'm going to be getting into shape.
It's time for a commercial. It's time for a Crappens commercial.
All right, so Heather gives a really nice speech to her about, like, you're being hard on yourself, but no, fuck that guy. And if you were okay with the situation at first where you felt like, oh, he's just dismissive or whatever, and now you're not okay and you've realized that you deserve more, you're allowed. Like, you don't have to just say, I accepted that in the beginning, so now I'm going to accept that forever. That's bullshit. And you are the queen of your own life. And you, girl, she gave her like the full Barbie speech. And I really liked it. I thought it was a good speech.
Heather is probably the best. I think Heather is the number one speech maker on Bravo, because I'm just looking at this speech. It is a long speech. It is a long, intelligent, articulate speech. Like, you could make an argument that receipts proof, timeline, etc. Like, she thought about saying that ahead of confronting Monica. But this is an off the cuff speech, and it is so good. Like, Heather really has a skill with this. And you know what? She's probably I was going to say she might be number two. She's number one because, the other great speech maker on Bravo is another Heather Dubrow. I think the Heathers have something. They know how to make a speech. They know how to just sit you down and look you in the eye and just like have a moment on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, very well done. Very, very good.
Good job,
So
Heathers.
Bronwin's like, obviously I've chosen to stay with Todd, and I choose that every single day when I get up. But I appreciate Heather trying to stick up for me and saying I deserve more, and I'm going to take that support. So then Meredith's like, Bronwin, what I wanted to say is, I didn't go through this exact situation, but Seth and I obviously had some serious problems where we were separated and nearly divorced and reconciled. And for us, it was really hard. And we had to learn to redefine bean salad. I said 3 beans. He said 5 beans. My sister said 9 beans. And here we are, happier than ever.
It turns out there's room for all the beans in the bowl.
So she's saying, it turns basically what they realized is they had to redefine their relationship because everyone has their capacities, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't adore you. He just may not be able to show it in a way that you receive it, which is also an interesting point which Whitney, and I think everybody, Bronwin definitely, kind of turns this against her later and uses this as they accuse her basically of sticking up for him and saying, oh, they're standing for the man. I think Meredith is saying something pretty typical, which is sometimes you have to meet people where they are, right?
Yeah, I didn't love this from Meredith. I thought the first thing she said, neither were like great. I understood more the first one, what she was kind of saying, as we previously discussed. This one, like, the only way I can understand why I should bring this up is if Bronwin's saying, like, I feel like I'm not understood. Oh, because Bronwin just said, I feel like I like him more than he likes me. And so maybe this was Meredith responding to that, saying, like, look, I'm sure he loves you. He just doesn't know how to actually express it. But either way, again, I think in this moment, you just sort of have to let's not stick up for Todd in this conversation. Maybe have a follow-up conversation and say, hey, I was thinking about it. I felt really bad that you said that you felt like you like your husband more than he likes you. And maybe he doesn't have the tools to express how much he likes you. So maybe, like something like that.
Yeah, because I think it was directly, it was a response to directly her saying she loves Todd more than he loves her. And I think Meredith is just trying to make her feel better and saying, some people don't know how to show love in the same way. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you as much as you love him. It's just some people are not capable of showing love the same way as you. I think that she's trying to make her feel better. And I don't think she's like jumping on Todd's side. I don't think it's about Todd. I think she's trying to make this sad woman feel better. you know?
I think Meredith's intentions were totally to try to make Bronwin feel better in both comments that she made. It's like, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's not the comment you want to hear right now.
I know that she might not want to hear it. And I might, if the argument is like, that's not what I want to hear right now, then okay. But I don't like the twisting it and making it like they're standing up for Todd and nah. It's like they're trying to be there for you. It's like you come to people with this huge thing. They're trying to be with you, be there for you. And you're twisting what they're saying and trying to make it something bad and then using it against them later. And I just think it's gross. Like it just gives me the ick. It's like she takes all the goodwill she builds up and then she does something that just icks me out.
I don't know.
That's later. That's in the third hour.
But this is why I'm saying that, like, this is why I'm saying Meredith should have said this stuff a little bit later, because when you have just said, turns out Todd, there was infidelity, and I think I like him more than him, and then you have someone say, yeah, but he probably likes you a lot. He just doesn't know how to do it. It sounds very much like, it's like you just don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear like, no, let's have some empathy for Todd right now. So. It's the reason why Meredith should not have brought it up right now is because if she's trying to say what we think maybe she was trying to say is such a subtle thing that in an emotional moment right now it's going to get lost and it's going to get used against you no matter what. So like wait to have a more nuanced conversation later.
Yeah. Well, but it's also an ensemble show where everybody's talking about their feelings and giving opinions on everything that people are bringing up. So to pick and choose everything. And then I don't know. I felt like it was a bad vibe using somebody trying to open up with you. Even if you don't like someone's advice, when you open up to your friends and they try and help you in any way, even if you don't like their advice, to like turn around and be like, well, fuck her. Like you just had somebody sitting and talking to you and like trying to help. And so like to use it against them and villainize them later is just like, sorry, I'm just not into it.
Yeah, but on this show, you never really know what people's motives are, to be honest.
Well, that's true. And I could be proved wrong literally in 2 seconds. So who knows?
Also, right, LOL to me saying. Also, LOL to me saying that they should have a nuanced conversation later, as if the concept of nuance has ever coincided with Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City, for Christ's sake.
It's not where nuance
lives. I know. So Meredith's like, Meredith says that. And then Angie's talking about how she wants to cry just listening to it because her husband is super perfectionist and, she has a lot of pressures like that with Sean and, he just keeps wanting more and more and more. And they just open one business and she finally catches her breath. And now he wants another business. And she's like, oh my God, like, leave me alone, man.
And Heather's like, Bronwin, is that why you have so many dogs? She's like, I do have so many dogs. She goes, and the dogs adore you. I hear that every time a dog poops on your carpet, it's its way of saying, I love my owner. And Bronwin's like, thank you. We are shoving shit into all the cracks in my heart, Heather. Clothes, bags, dogs, literally bags. I have this canvas tote right now, which is going to heal some wounds for me.
So because Brittany's an idiot and she watches Bachelor, religiously. Sorry, not all of you are idiots who watch The Bachelor. Obviously, I watched it for many years, but I'm just saying Brittany is obviously trained in Bachelor speak. And she goes, Brittany, and she goes, Bronwin, we needed that. Good job. Like, she's like, I'm so proud of you. That's all I needed to really like you is your trauma. Thank you for giving me your trauma.
And then Lisa goes to her note.
You're so much more relatable now. Your Q rating just went so up.
I know. So they hug her, they get off the boat and everything, and they go back to Sprinter van. And then Lisa's like, wow, do you know what I'm like? Do you feel the same? Like, that was interesting. And Meredith's like, oh, I feel sorry for her. Yeah, when Todd sees this, he's going to lose his mind. Which I think that's what we're all thinking. Like, what is Todd? You have two reactions. One is the right reaction, one's the wrong reaction. The right reaction is to say, when I saw that, Bronwin, that broke my heart, and I just feel terrible that I made you feel this way, and I'm going to do whatever I can to reassure you and prove to you that, like, you're my number one priority. That's the right reaction. The wrong reaction will be, I can't believe you put that on TV. Do you know how embarrassing that is for me? Now everyone's going to look at me like I'm a cheater. And I guarantee it was option number 2 that he took.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, he seemed fine on the show. He was on Watch What Happens and he seemed fine. And she's like, Todd knew I was she said something like, Todd knows I'm gonna talk about it or something, but it was just interesting. You should watch it and watch the dynamic on there because it was definitely an interesting clip. Okay, so now they're talking about the boat. They're back at the place or whatever, and Lisa, Brittany, and Meredith are talking. And Brittany's like, it was just so emotionally exhausting. It was like, a lot came out of Bronwin, and I feel closer to Bronwin, but at the same time, what about me?
By the way, Meredith, how are you feeling? Yeah, you were quiet on the boat. Yeah, well, I was not feeling great on the boat. And Lisa's like, really nauseous? Yeah, I was a little bit of exhaustion more than anything. A little nauseous and a little headachy. Not great, but I feel good now.
You might have been nauseous from being so high on those heels. They were showing her walking in these heels she chose to wear to the boat, and she couldn't even walk. Like Angie had to help her walk to the boat.
Yes.
And
that was the funniest moment.
That's an odd duo.
Everyone's like, what's going on with that right now? Now, listen, Meredith does not always do well on the first day of vacation. Let's not forget her first day in Bermuda when she was like, I need a comforter in a bathtub. So, she needs like a moment. She needs a moment.
She loves a benzo on the plane, basically, is what you're saying. She loves a benzo and a few of those little tiny bottles of wine on a plane. And it takes a minute to recover from that. It's like, girl, everything is not 27 hours away. Okay. I mean, how many are you taking? Jesus Christ. You could anesthetize an entire children's wing with what you just took. So, not that I would suggest that anybody do that. It's an odd thing to say. Okay, so I was just trying to think of smaller people.
Chipmunks. You can anesthetize several chipmunks.
Yeah.
So Bronwyn's like, Angie's like, how are you feeling, Bronwyn? And she's like, I keep wondering if I'm crazy or if I'm misunderstanding because, like, you guys saw when I was like crying about what I was sharing with you guys about my personal life. Lisa was not. And when he goes, I think that like when her intentions are good, she doesn't quite know. Like even hold on. Even though her intentions are good, she doesn't quite know how to do aquarobics. I mean, wait, no. What's the word? Listen.
Andrew's like, I also have to point out, you were confronting her at the same time. You were just chewing her out in front of the whole group, and then you pivoted into making everybody feel sorry for you. So I don't know what this lady expects, honestly. So Angie's like, well, there's something with you two. Like, I cannot pinpoint it. And I don't want to say she's not supporting you, but you're sleeping over here. So that is something. And Bronwyn's like, I mean, she's just doing enough to make me feel uncomfortable, but not enough to get in trouble for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nothing overtly wrong. So then we come back to Lisa, drinking Diet Coke ominously, like, So now like Heather comes to sit down with Whitney and Angie and Bronwyn, and Heather's like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? Would you like another wonderful speech? Bronwyn's like, well, I was just telling Angie, the three of you were the most responsive and caring and inquisitive. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And like today, when I was telling you guys what's going on with Todd and I, it felt like Meredith said, well, maybe that's all Todd can do. Like I should be fine with that. Like that's the max. That's it. That's what you get.
I mean, I've already talked for 15 minutes about this, so I'll save it. So Heather's like, so it's like, you think she's saying it's your fault because you're guarded. And she's like, yeah. And there was this like, is Todd doing this to me because I've done something to him? Like, I mean, it just feels like the two of them were defending Todd. And I was like, damn. And Whitney's like, yeah, you just bored your heart and soul to us, And I was like, wake up, heart and soul. That was a fun story, And then your heart and soul were like, nah. And then they put on piñatas and started beating them. And I was like, wait a minute. Why are you beating up piñatas in Puerto Vallarta? What is going on? Whitney.
You exploited my piñata. Whitney, then Whitney says, I mean, you said probably like one of the most vulnerable things you could share. Watching Whitney try to get through the word vulnerable. Did you notice that? She goes, it was one of the most
bouncer way. She calls it vulnerable. That's what they say. They take a lot of the vowels out and they say vulnerable. It's like a different word.
It's like she hit a speed bump in the middle of it. It was like one of the most vulnerable things you could share.
So she goes, yeah, they're defending a cheater instead, and it hits home to them, and it's a trigger because it's something they've both been through or been accused of, because they've both been accused of infidelity. Okay, then why weren't you triggered?
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Yeah.
So then Heather's like, well, they side with Todd because they've been on that side of it, but they want to be forgiven. That's what she says, which is like, oh, so Heather basically is both like, yeah, they've both been cheated and they want to be forgiven.
Season 1, that was the Meredith storyline, right? That like she went on dates when she and Seth were separated, right?
Supposedly. The rumor was that her and Jen Shaw were like fucking the same guy in New York, remember? That was crazy. Yeah. Oh, God, back in the day.
The show is wonderful.
It really is. But there was also rumors that Seth was cheating. Then there were rumors that they were swingers. But the only rumor I heard that Lisa was cheating was the Whitney thing that she was doing just for jazz tickets.
Oh, right. So, so Whitney's like, yeah, they're sticking up for like, don't talk about it. Okay, I'll just stop you there, Whitney. Listen, it happened with Gwen and her grandparents too. Lisa kept saying, oh, they have this big house and they're so handsome, and Gwen's dad is handsome and they're so nice and they're so beautiful and they're so wealthy. And that's like not how I feel about a family who in the past has denied or ignored or refused to claim or get to know my child. And Whitney's like, yeah, Lisa has a hard time going beyond the surface. Those things matter to her, and they're important to her. So she's like gonna point out like the image of like, can someone finish my sentence for me? I don't have anything else to say to get to the period.
Others like, well, I think it would just be hard for her to imagine anyone not wanting to be friends with someone that was rich and beautiful and cool, which is true. I mean, I think all of this is valid so far. And Bronwin's like, well, I was surprised and I was not, like you two understand what it feels like to be put in a place as a wife and a woman and whatever. I don't know. Whitney is like literally cheated with a man who is married with a family. So I think we can leave
about
Whitney.
Mormonism. I think she's talking about Mormonism because she says, I don't think
she
Lisa
said it feels like to put in a place. Like you guys feel like it feels what it's like to be put in your place. Is that what she's saying?
I think it's basically what she's saying is like in Mormonism, when you're kind of told like, this is what a woman's role is. Because she's right. I don't think Lisa and Meredith have experienced that culturally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, right.
They weren't raised.
So she's like, and understand what that feels like to be in a really narrowly defined role for yourself, So they're standing up for Todd because they don't understand it. Like, is this all he can do? And again, I don't think that's what Meredith was saying. I think she was saying, don't feel bad that he doesn't love you. I think he doesn't know how to show love. It's his fault for not understanding it's his fault for not being able to understand how to show you love, not your fault for being unlovable. I feel like Meredith was trying to be supportive. I don't like this. Now, the stuff they're saying about Lisa, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna stand up for that.
There is something going on, and there's a reason you're over here in our villa. And maybe when you're having that moment, maybe she didn't take it as serious as it is. I don't know. Where's the tzatziki? Am I right?
Oh, hold on. Head nod's coming. So you're saying you don't think she believed what I was saying? Is that what you're saying? Okay. No. That's not what anybody is saying.
Are you saying I'm a snob?
So now she's taken yet another thing that she's going to twist and turn around and throw in someone's face. I'm telling you. So here we go. So now we see a plane flying over, and then Mary comes to the hotel in a golf cart. So here comes Mary.
Yes. And Mary is saying that, when she found out about Robert, she had to do something. So we see a flashback. It's a really nice flashback where she's basically like, he's going to be going off to rehab. She found a facility. She prayed over it. She found a facility. And what she's most happy about is that he wanted to do it and that he was ready and that this is his choice because she can't make him, want to change. It has to come from him. So we see a really lovely scene of her. He gets into a van. They go off she gets him situated in rehab, and it's a nice scene, and we just have to have our fingers crossed, because we know that's just the beginning of a very long journey for that kid.
Yeah. So she gets to the girls. She's with Meredith, and she's with a couple girls, and Meredith goes, "Why didn't you come yesterday? What happened, Mary?" And she's like, "Well, I was like, and then I came." And they just all went, okay. just
Okay,
such a
my
Mary
prediction.
answer.
I have a prediction for the reunion is that Meredith is going to say, when I asked you why you were a day late, you didn't share with me. And it really hurt my feelings that you couldn't share with me about Robert. We've been so close for so many years and that you couldn't share the thing with me. And I've shared so much about Brooks. It really hurt Mary. I guarantee that's going to be a moment.
Oh God, please let her not be so stupid as to use that against somebody. Please.
Yes.
So, then, Mary goes to say hi to people and she goes to Angie's room and they run to each other and jump in each other's arms and roll around on the ground and love each other.
What? I don't know. I was shocked by how darling I thought this was so sweet when Mary walked in and how happy Angie was and that they did run into each other's arms. It reminded me of like seeing a cheesy video on Instagram about like a soldier coming back from war and he surprises their kid or something like that, or like someone being reunited with like their pet, like, those like sweet videos where they played like cheesy music and you went crying on social media. But like just watching Angie and Mary just like,
or that little video of the kids, of the babies running to each other. I mean, they ended up using that video for stupid political reasons later, but which were horrible. But the original video is just so cute of the little babies like seeing each other and then running down the sidewalk with their arms open and just like jumping at each other and holding each other.
Yeah, just the way they hugged each other. I was like, this is so sweet.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Mary loves Angie because she's positive and she needs that, and they get each other and they just keep hugging, and so then it's dinner time and it's a Vita themed dinner and it is so ridiculous. It's one of the most ridiculous themed dinners of all time. Vita is huge. It's imprinted on everything. It's all over the walls, all over the plates, all over their, the waiters are like faces,
The waiters are dressed as different letters. Like one guy comes out as like a V, one guy is an I. They're so jealous of the I guy because he basically gets to have his arms.
Like face tattoos with letters on them.
So Lisa's just talking about how like, this is where they grow all the stuff for the piñas for the tequila, et cetera. And Vita means life. And then Whitney has the balls to say, it feels less like I'm stepping into a dinner party and more like I'm stepping into a cheesy Vita tequila commercial. Like, how many Prism events have we had to sit through on this show, Whitney? Come on now.
I know she's not wrong, but still, it's Whitney. And she goes, but I don't think they can even afford to do commercials. So, oh, please, weren't you the one that had like a stupid charcuterie tray set up for influencers to come for free and post everything from your thing? Whatever, Whitney. So then Lisa's like, cheers to Mary being in Puerto Rico. Oh my God, I love a good starter salad. Not you, Mary. Sorry. Did I just call Mary a starter salad? That's crazy. Mary, thank you for being such a good niçoise. Wait, what am I talking about?
I love a good starter salad. That should be like a yearbook quote. Lisa Barlow, I love a good starter salad. So, and the Mary's looking at like, there's like one of those like tomato and mozzarella stack, like a caprese stack. And she's like, oh, I want that. And Brittany wants salt and pepper. And it's like, Hutz. And then, Mary's
like, where's my food? And they go, what'd you order? And she said, I ordered mozzarella and tomato. And then I, also ordered, like a pastrami soup. And they just all look at her and no one says anything. And Meredith goes, did you say pastrami soup? I've never heard of pastrami soup.
I know. And Lisa,
wait, what is that?
Did you mean stroganoff?
What is that?
There's no such thing as stroganoff soup either. And so stroganoff soup. Do you know what's in stroganoff? And then Bonnie Mary's like, oh, minestrone.
I love stroganoff. Whitney, we're not talking about masturbation. Oh. Minestrone. It was minestrone. They're like, oh. So then Heather's like, I can think of 0 soups that contain pastrami. How does Heather not have a podcast yet? This is just like such an us. Like, what soups even have pastrami? Okay, everybody, come to Patreon if you want to hear us talk about pastrami soup.
I just want to say, I did a quick Google search of pastrami soup, and I've already got. Okay, here's some things that have shown up. Number one, slow cooker white bean and pastrami soup. White beans, and then there's another one called Reuben soup, which that seems a bit. I don't know about that. And then French onion pastrami soup. Actually, pastrami would be delicious in soup. It's like highly seasoned. It's salty, strong. I'm for it. I'm for pastrami soup.
Nasty. So then she does a pastrami bit. And then Bronwin's like, I don't know who she asked pastrami for pastrami soup from, but I don't think that's coming. I don't think that exists. So then now we're asking how Meredith feels. Brittany keeps going, Meredith, how are you feeling? Fucking Brittany's
He loves
subtle. Subtle
how are
as
you
ever.
feeling, Meredith? And Meredith's like, I'm good. How about you? And Meredith is giving her this look like, what are you up to, Brittany? And Meredith also has like a lip liner or something. So she has like a sort of a strong outline on her lips, which makes it when she frowns all the more exaggerated. And Brittany's like, are you feeling okay? I am good. Good, because you were talking about being tired. And I hope it's okay to say it, but I heard you crying last night, you know? And Meredith's like, you were crying? I was upset last night and I cried.
And Bronwin's like, I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. But I do feel awkward because it's wormed its way all the way through the rooms to me when I was getting glam done that you were crying and throwing up as well, right? So that was there. There was a lot to be concerned about because, you know, that's what I heard. So
No, I did not throw up. What I did was I emptied a vase into the toilet because I didn't like the color of the water. So what may have sounded like throw up. And at the same time, I also was trying to get a fishbone out of my throat. So if you heard water in the toilet and me going, that explains it. Thank you. I was crying too.
what? I'm eating, trying to eat. Like, did you throw up? Did you not throw up? Did you throw up? And then Lisa's like, who did you tell? And Heather's like, oh, she told me. She told me and I told Angie. She's just spreading her around everywhere. So then we see a flashback of that. And then Meredith is like, I did not throw up. Wait, can we just, I'm trying to eat. Can I eat? Can I have my soup?
Mary's like, I finally get my food. Why are we talking about throw up? I feel like my food is starting to look like throw up. You cannot talk about throw up while I'm trying to eat. What's the matter? Where's the manners? And to be fair, she's eating minestrone soup. And if you look at minestrone soup the wrong way, it does kind of look like throw up. So
100%. Well, I'm glad
like
that you find it all to be such an interesting subject conversation.
Just to be clear, I was just telling you, it doesn't sound like you don't want her talking. It sounds like you don't want her talking about it. And Meredith goes, I appreciate that. And I was upset about the slut shaming, so I cried.
It was because of slut shaming.
I couldn't believe that someone would shame sluts at my bat mitzvah, so I started to cry.
She's so full of shit. So then Whitney's like, wait a minute, this is confusing. Math? No, this. Life. Well, that too. What were we talking about? So she's like, Meredith and Angie just made up at dinner. So what the fuck? Now she's crying over slut shaming. She's like, she goes, I had no idea she was an advocate for the sluts of America.
Meredith, do you feel resolved with me? Well, I have moved on emotionally now, and I don't want to go backwards. And so Lisa jumps in and goes, I think that Meredith should say how she feels instead of saying, I don't want to talk about it. And Angie's like, Lisa, we agreed to stay out of each other's stuff, and you need to stay out. And she's like, wait, don't tell me what to do and what not to do.
And you are going to keep egging this on.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
What am I going to do, Lisa? What am I going to do? What am I? Maybe I will lunge at you. Maybe I will take a play from your book and lunge at you. Come on. You keep getting in the middle. You are being a pizza.
I don't get in the middle. I do not get in the middle. I was trying to help you fix things. Which actually, if you actually look at the quote that Lisa said and reading it back, we just saw it. When Lisa was saying to Meredith, you should say how you feel rather than saying you want to move forward. So that was actually Lisa saying, Meredith, you should say something now. So it was.
She wasn't defending her, right? She wasn't defending her. She was saying, "Come on, Meredith, step up to the plate." So then Lisa's like, "Oh wow, do you feel like a badass right now?" She's like, "I do not feel like that. How come when people talk to you, you think they're trying to have a problem or they are trying to be a badass?" And she's like, "You're not the boss of me." Angie. She's like, you are not the boss. You should find someone else who is a boss. You are not a boss.
She is telling me to make peace with you. And Lisa goes, you don't like that. I'm not agreeing with you. I'm not agreeing with you. I think you do start things. And when people react to you, then you're like, oh my God, you're the problem. And you miss the fact that you incited things. And when he's like, it's interesting when it's about your feelings, you want us all to care. But if it's our feelings, you don't.
Nobody gives a fuck about my feelings, Whitney, especially you. And she's like, actually I do. Nuh-uh. I did, but maybe look at that as how your friends feel, because you get to be the dictator and I get to pick and choose which dicks you tits.
That doesn't make sense, and I don't get to be the dictator, but you know what? You know what I get to do? I get to protect my fucking self, and that's what I will always do.
You're a dictator. And guess what? Just because I wanted to be friends, and the minute I stood up for myself, you turned your back and left the friendship. Which is not really what happened either, Whitney.
No,
as I recall.
That's not true, Whitney. You did some fucked up stuff, and you're lucky. You're lucky that I even look at you or talk to you for the things that you've done to me. You're not a victim. You're a fucking lying bitch. You are. You are.
So then Bronwin goes, well, here's the thing. It's just everyone just stay out of this. And she's, oh, well, why do I get told to do by Lisa fucking Barlow? Oh, my God. You just said that Angie didn't tell you what to do, but you tell me what to do all the time. Oh, my God. Bronwin's being left out, everybody. So let's let her in now. So Lisa just goes, Bronwin, I'll get to you next.
Yeah, why do you say stuff like I'll deal with you later or I'm not going to hear from you? Well, it's a constant nitpick. That's always an issue. Well, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Yeah, well, we're friends and there's always an issue. And I'm like, exhausted.
But it's not always an issue. It's the same issue. And I never get all the way done with you. You're just never all the way done. Just finish your meal. Finish your fucking meal. Oh my God.
I'm fucking sick of all this. For real. It's dish, dish, dish. I try to be friends with you. I'm I've been a really good friend to you, Bronwin.
And Bronwin was like, no, Lisa, honestly, I appreciate you liking my husband, but the way that you responded to what I was saying today made me not only believe that maybe you didn't believe me or you didn't really give a fuck, or that honestly you kind of stood up for Todd more than you did for me. And Mary goes, she's really hurt. Who's that? Girls, she's hurt.
Well,
waiter.
I think that Bronwin.
Woman's meal.
Well, I think that Bronwin, you have been tough on the exterior and you've divulged more in this group than a lot of people have in years. And Lisa, I just met her and I know more about her marriage than I know about your entire life in 1 hour.
Oh my gosh, I talked to you about my kids. I talked to you about my sons. Okay. And she's like, and you are guarded. But that's who you are. And Lisa, why are you getting all snarky? It's because I'm upset. Stop talking about your feelings.
So this really hurts Lisa. And this is kind of hurtful. And so Lisa's like, I just can't believe Angie saying this to me. We used to be so close. I share with her so much. I was like, I went to Wendy's today, or I went to Taco Bell today, or I got a Diet Coke today. I tell you all about the things I ate. And why would you say that's not real? What? You want me to say I ate a salad? I do love a good starter salad though.
But it is odd because Angie's normal complaint about Lisa for the whole season is that she just has to sit on the phone and listen to Lisa talk for hours on end about herself. And now she's saying Lisa never talks about herself. So I guess she means on a more emotional level. But it's like Meredith said. It's what do you expect? It's Lisa. This is where she is. You can't just make non-emotional people emotional just because you need that. Go get it from an emotional person. So then Lisa's she's crying and she's like, wow, you're never leaving my friend. You were never my friend. And then Mary's like, did you not get your pastrami soup either? Because this is not what I ordered.
So Lisa's crying and then they're like, why are you crying? And she's like, it doesn't matter. And Heather's like, it does matter. She's like, I'm fucking going home. So Lisa gets up from the table and cries off. And it's like, oh my God. And then Mary just looks at the camera and goes, what happened to dessert?
Speaking of pressure. And that brings us to the end of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today. Go get your tickets for the Mounting Hysteria tour on sale now over at watchwhatcrappens.com. It is always better to get them from the site because if you Google Watch What Crappens tickets, you are going to be taken to reseller sites, which are going to try and gouge your ass. We are not that expensive. Go to our site to get the proper links, to go to the proper websites, to get normal price tickets, people. Okay. And we sure love you guys. And we're so excited to see you starting next month. Come to the Golden Crappies in New York City on Broadway. And thanks to everyone watching us on demand. We will talk to you tomorrow for a little Southern charm. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Watch What Crappens would like to thank its premium sponsors.
Ain't no thing like Allison King.
It's always automatic with Ashley Auto.
Ashley Savoni, she don't take no baloney.
Put your hands together for Carly Clapp.
Get on the right foot with Chrissy Offutt. Dana C. Dana Do.
Aaron McNicholas.
She don't miss no trickolas. Jamie, she has no last namey. You'll never hide from Heidi Eleanor Jones.
Hava Nagila Weber. Know Your Worth with Jason Kurth.
Sip some scotch with Jessica Trotch.
She's our favorite streamer, Caroline Peacock.
Kristen the Piston Anderson.
Rigging the Funk, it's Leslie Plunkett.
She gets an A from us. It's Lindsay D.
Let's give a kisserino to Lisa Lino.
Always killing it, it's Lola Alkalani.
We love her on the rocks. It's Melissa Cox.
Megan Berg. You can't have a burger without the Berg.
Have a heck of a time with Rebecca.
The highest tally, it's Sarah McNally.
Cast a spell with Shannon Spellman.
The Bay Area Betches.
And our super premium sponsors.
Somebody get us 10 cc's of Betsy MD.
We're taking the gold with Brenda Silva.
Let's get real with Caitlin O'Neill.
Don't get salty with Christine Pepper. Can't have a meal without the Emily Sides.
Nobody holds a candle to Jamie Kendall. We got our wish, it's Jen Plish.
She's not harsh. She's Jill Hirsch.
She's a little bit loony. Junie. My favorite Murdo, Karen McMurdo. We love him madly, it's Kyle Pod Shadley.
Let's go on a bender with Lauren Fender.
She's a whiz, it's Liz Sarthy.
The incredible edible Matthews sisters.
She eases our woes. It's Melissa St. Rose.
Give him hell, Miss Noel.
Ring that bell for Rachel.
She's the queen bee. It's Sarah Lemke. Shannon, out of a cannon, Anthony. Let's take off with Tamla Plain.
She ain't no shrinking Violet Couture. We love you guys.